NFL show was brought to you by Manscaped. Make sure you check them out at manscaped.com. Promo code TGT20 for 20% off and free shipping on your first order. The perfect present for Christmas if you're hairy. Now, I am your host, Mike Goodpastor. We're going to bring in somebody that's hairy right now, even though he's been called by listeners a soy boy and other derogatory terms. Sam Teets, how you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great, Mike. How about you?
All right. And we got a little Thanksgiving football on the horizon tomorrow. 3 games, one crappy, one that somehow has playoff implications, and then one matchup in the AFC North that may be the best rivalry in football right now. We're going to start off with the Detroit Lions versus the Houston Texans, which will be the first game tomorrow. Kickoff is at 12:30 on CBS. The Texans are 2.5-point favorites at Dallas or at Detroit. Not many times you're going to see the Houston Texans on the road as a favorite.
No, not many times this year whatsoever. We do have actually some news coming up here as the show just started. Apparently, the NFL is going to push back that Baltimore-Pittsburgh game until Sunday. So we're actually only going to have 2 games on Thursday.
Well, that ruins Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the only good game they're going to actually take off there now. They're moving that to Sunday because of the Ravens with COVID.
Well, that sucks. Who's got the Ravens got COVID? Screw the Ravens. They ought to have to play the game anyways.
Yeah, I think it was Mark Ingram, Brandon Williams, J.K. Dobbins, and a couple other players had COVID-19.
Well, you know what? They shouldn't have got COVID-19. That's the way the cookie crumbles. I think they should be playing the game. What do you think?
I mean, I said the same thing with Tennessee back when it was like week 4 now, I guess. It was a long time ago. They took Pittsburgh's bye away. They moved them around quite a bit. And this is the second time now they've moved the game on the Pittsburgh Steelers because the other team came down with COVID-19. I do think a lot of these times they've been playing these games. So I'm kind of curious why, but this one in particular, they decided to move it. They've kept the games.
None of these guys have tested positive, right?
For Pittsburgh, not for Pittsburgh.
For Baltimore. Who's tested positive?
Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Brandon Williams. I just mentioned those 3. They've tested positive, I believe.
Then why do you move the game back? Because they can't play on Sunday either.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're trying to see if more players have it or not. I guess that's probably the reason why.
Well, wouldn't it be better to just play the game before you find out if anybody else had it?
If you're the NFL, you never know with them.
All right, so we're going to look at the Houston, I almost said Oilers, Houston, Texas, Detroit Lions tomorrow. I think the big question here, if Detroit wants to win this game, Matt Stafford hasn't played well. He's got the thumb injury. Detroit's going to have to run the ball, and I don't know how they're going to pull that off in this game, even against a bad Texans defense.
Yeah, it would be very difficult. And we saw that. I mean, even the New England Patriots, who had done a good job running the ball against Baltimore, they had trouble running against Houston this past weekend. And DeAndre Swift, who's been their best running back so far this year, he missed the last game due to a concussion, and we're not sure whether or not he's going to clear the protocol in time to play tomorrow. So you're going to have a situation where you might not have DeAndre Swift available, in which case you're down to Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson. That's just not going to cut it. I mean, you won't be able to have a running game with those guys. The offensive line's questionable. And you're missing Kenny Galladay, your best wide receiver as well. You're really running out of weapons here if you're Detroit.
Yeah, I think the best chance here is to run the ball. And the Texans have the league's worst rushing defense coming into this game. The Texans can't run the ball either. So to me, when I'm going to decide who I'm going to pick this game, I'm going to look at the quarterbacks. I'm going to see Matt Stafford on one end. I'm going to see Deshaun Watson on the other end. And I'm going to take the Texans. And if I'm betting the game, I'm going to give the 2.5 points also.
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans as well. I mean, it makes no sense to bet against Deshaun Watson at this point because what he did this past week against a better team in the New England Patriots, that was a team I thought was going to actually win that game. He came out, had a fantastic outing. And also, I mean, just look at what Matt Patricia's done coaching-wise for Detroit. They just lost 20-0 to the Carolina Panthers and P.J. Walker, who threw 2 interceptions. If you can't put any points against Carolina without Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey, I have no faith you're going to be able to beat Houston.
Yeah, I just feel bad now because we can't preview the Steelers and the Ravens till Friday. Next up, the Washington football team are 2.5-point underdogs at Dallas. Now, Washington picked up a win last week. I think a lot of that was Joe Burrow going out the game because the Bengals led until that point. But they beat Cincinnati at home 20-9. Antonio Gibson had a fantastic outing against the Bengals. The rookie running back gathered 94 rushing yards and a touchdown on 16 carries. and maybe that will get Gibson jump started. The Cowboys snapped a 4-game losing skid on Sunday by pulling off a 31-28 win over the hot Minnesota Vikings on the road. And in that win, I think the Cowboys showed that they can put together a complete offensive game when they have Andy Dalton healthy at quarterback, playing like his old self, and you've got Ezekiel Elliott. So when I look at this game, I mean, really, when you look at it, Dallas is the better football team with the better players, Sam.
Yeah, the only thing I might give an edge to for Washington would probably be that defensive front. That defensive line, of course, is loaded with 4 or 5 first-round picks. Other than that, I think Dallas has an advantage, maybe a little bit of an advantage for Washington in their secondary, but it's certainly not a good group I would rely on moving forward. And you're talking about Dallas, they have CeeDee Lamb, Amari Rodgers. They've got weapons here that I think would make them almost unstoppable if Andy Dalton plays anywhere near what he did this past weekend. Now, if he falls off a cliff or has some kind of struggle for whatever reason, it could get interesting. I think Zeke Elliott's not going to have as big of a game as he did against Minnesota because, like I said, Washington does have a very strong defensive front, at least talent-wise. Moving forward, I think it's going to be closer than most people expect, but I would lean towards Dallas just because Andy Dalton, to me, is in better shape than Alex Smith right now.
All right. I'm going to go with the Redskins. It makes no sense, but I also think this. Every time you think the Dallas Cowboys are about to do something, put something together, they fall on their face. So I think Washington wins this game 26-24. I think Alex Smith cements comeback player of the year, which I think he probably already has anyways. I like the Redskins in this game by a close margin. I think their defensive front will slow down Elliott enough and put enough pressure on Andy Dalton so that the Redskins can squeak this out. But I'm basing this more on the ineptitude of the Dallas Cowboys in situations like this, more than anything of the Washington Redskins. And yeah, I'm just going to keep calling them Redskins. I put Redskins on there. Sue me. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, and look at it. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it will be a very good game. To me, it's going to come down to really who makes the most mistakes. And that's what's happened for both these teams the entirety of the season. They've made mistakes. That's what I expect to be the difference in this game.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. The Cowboys are playing the Redskins. It's one of the greatest rivalries in NFL history. We can't just say the Cowboys versus the football team.
They do need to pick a new mascot. They can't be keeping that name.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Cowboys and Indians. It's not supposed to be Cowboys and a football team.
Yeah. Because they need to figure something out here. I'm surprised they haven't also made a decision at any point this year or even hinted at anything so far.
You really are surprised because this
not really. Not really.
This is Daniel Snyder we're talking about. So when you look at that, I think it is very possible and plausible for them to be called the football team for the rest of the existence of the team. All right, it is Wednesday, and it's time for Sam Tietz's NFL Power Rankings. We got a drum roll or not? We're going to go ahead. Number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, the New Orleans Saints. Number 3, the Pittsburgh Steelers. When I look at this, I don't think you could really complain about any of it. All these teams do have issues. I think the Chiefs, the thing that puts them over the top is they've got Patrick Mahomes, who's number 1 in your quarterback rankings. With the Saints, I don't know that Drew Brees is going to come back. And if Drew Brees is not on this team, they're not number 2, Sam.
No, it takes some help. I mean, you saw they had a good game against Atlanta, but again, that's Atlanta. Not a very good defense there. And also, they were after Matt Ryan the entire day. I don't expect them to get 8 sacks every game. So if they have to stick with Taysom Hill, like rolling to the playoffs or even 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'd be very concerned if I was New Orleans Saints right now. Drew Brees, what was it? Collapsed lung and cracked ribs on both sides of his chest. That's going to be more than 3 weeks. That's going to be like 5 or 6 weeks, I think, at minimum.
Yeah, and I would probably go with Pittsburgh at 2. I would go with the Rams at number 3, and then I would go to Saints at 4.
I can respect that. I have the Rams a little bit lower than you would appreciate.
Yeah, it's because you hate Jared Goff and you want him to be really bad, and so it can basically, justify what you've said about him. But this Rams team has one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have a very good receiving core. Jared Goff kind of gives this team some limitations. With Pittsburgh, Buffalo, I don't know that I would pick Pittsburgh to beat Buffalo. I don't know that I would pick Pittsburgh to beat the Raiders. Right now, the thing that's really surprising to me is coming into this year, we thought the NFC was going to be the better conference. But right now, if you look at your top 5, 4 of them are AFC teams.
Yeah, I think the AFC has actually been much better this year just because the NFC, maybe it's because they're beating up on each other, maybe it's because they have so many clear and obvious holes. But right now, you got Pittsburgh undefeated, Kansas City, they're reigning Super Bowl champs. And frankly, Josh Allen's growth, which I didn't expect, has been a huge factor here for Buffalo. That's what's making them much better this year than they were in past seasons, I believe. And the Raiders, they're pulling things together out. I thought John Gruden's new tenure with the Raiders was going to go very south very quickly based on how his first couple of years went. But it seems like everything's pulling together here and really starting to click for this team. And that offense finally has an identity, and it's really working out well for them.
All right, you've got the Colts at 7, you got the Bucs at 8, the Packers at 9, the Seahawks at 10. I don't know that I really have any issues with that. I just think we see how weak the NFL is this year. I mean, damn. I mean, the Raiders, I like the Raiders. I talk them up. The Rams, the Bills. I mean, really, though, if the Saints had Drew Brees, I think this would be hands down just Kansas City and New Orleans as the best two teams, and then there's everybody else.
Yeah, I think so too. And I could even go as far as saying that really after the top 6, you see a significant drop off. Maybe you want to throw the Colts in there. I don't really know. I think the Rams are in there because they're a strong defense. You already mentioned Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, and of course Jared Goff as well. But that offensive line and run game hasn't been that great for Los Angeles. So to me, it's really the top 5, maybe 6 teams. And then it's kind of everyone else at this point because every team has flaws here. I think it just becomes much more pronounced once you get past 6.
What are the Colts' flaws?
So far for me, the running game has been a big issue. I know they had it against Green Bay, but Green Bay's flaw is they allow a lot of running. They haven't had a good, strong running game all year long. Jonathan Taylor has struggled at times. They don't have great receiving weapons, even though Michael Pittman Jr. is starting to become much more prominent in that role. They still don't have great receiving options. So to me, it's offensively, not necessarily Philip Rivers at this point, but other pieces on offense are limited. And defensively, I mean, they've been very good defensively so far this year, but I think passing-wise, they struggle a little bit more because that secondary is a bit older, although I do really like Julian Blackmon, the young safety they have.
I think I would put Seattle at 8 and Tennessee at 9.
That's fair. So who would you be moving back then?
Tampa Bay and Green Bay.
So the flaw there for Green Bay, I'm guessing, is the defense for them. Tampa Bay, would it just be the inconsistency they've had so far?
Well, I think Green Bay, there's more issues than just that. Overall, I think the talent is lacking there. Seattle defense is an issue. Tampa Bay, I think the secondary is an issue. I think Tom Brady might be an issue. He's not what he was. He's still a good quarterback. But when I look at him, I don't have a lot of confidence here Tampa Bay could really make a serious run right now. I don't think Green Bay could either. Now, on the other hand, I think Seattle and Tennessee could. And the reason I say that, of course, Seattle has Russell Wilson. Tennessee's got Derrick Henry. I think Ryan Tannehill's a good quarterback. And I could even see putting the Cardinals over over Green Bay right now.
I could too. I can honestly see that. I struggle with Arizona just because they're 6-4. But when you talk about them offensively, I mean, they can score with anyone in the league. I think if you're talking about just sheer firepower, they might be able to match a Kansas City or a Las Vegas in terms of scoring right now.
All right, we got David Burnworth, who writes for the Pennsylvania Football News, who says it will always be Redskins. Cowboys scalped the Redskins 35-34. So, Sam, I know you are an NFL historian. Can you tell me a Cowboy-Redskin game that ended up 35-34?
You want me to do it off the top of my head? No, I can't.
1979.
No.
1979, the Redskins were up 34-21 with like 5 minutes left in the game. Roger Staubach, who David, I know, owns a jersey of Roger Staubach because he's a Cowboy fan. And Staubach leads them back to win 35-34. In 1979, the Cowboys went on to win the division. That was the last week of the season. The Cowboys then got upset by the LA Rams, which was Staubach's last game. And that was the Rams team that went from wild card to the Super Bowl, where they got beat by the Pittsburgh Steelers 31-19. Probably the most famous Thanksgiving Day game for the Cowboys Redskins, I think, was 1974, when Clint Longley came in relief and led the Cowboys on a great come from behind win that people in Dallas still talk about. It was the Clint Longley game. It's the only game that could be the Clint Longley game because that was Clint Longley's only game, basically. And then the short version is Longley and Staubach didn't get along, and Staubach basically got Longley run out of town. I don't even know that Longley ever played after that. But when you look at Thanksgiving Day games, 1974 Cowboys skin stands out. And we talk about the Detroit Lions and how the Lions are the team that's always kind of personified Thanksgiving football. But to me, it's probably the Dallas Cowboys. I think there's more memorable games with the Cowboys. Probably my favorite was the game in 1993 when Leon Lett kicks the ball. Miami ends up getting it back. But the great thing about that game is they're playing in Texas Stadium, which, of course, had the hole in the stadium, as David will tell you, so God could watch the Cowboy games, which was always really a stupid thing to say by Cowboy fans because I think God could see through that stadium. And God could probably also get a really good seat at the 50-yard line if he wanted. But that was the game where you get the snowstorm, which they usually don't get in November in Dallas. And the Dolphins upset the Cowboys in 93. And then the Dolphins, I think, were like 8-3 after that win or something. Didn't win another game, missed the playoffs, and the Cowboys didn't lose another game and went on to beat the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. So when you talk about Thanksgiving football to me, I think more about the Cowboys than I do the Lions. But then again, let's face it, it's the Lions. None of their games really mean anything anyways.
Yeah, they haven't won a lot. I mean, that's the reason why you think about Dallas more is because why would you think about Detroit? They haven't won. You think about the winning team in this situation.
All right, so we are at 11, the Titans, 12, Cardinals, 13, Ravens. I think that's too high. I would have the Ravens below Miami. Right now, I would have the Ravens below, as crazy as it sounds, the Browns. I know they beat them earlier in the year, but that was at the start of the season. And right now, if the Ravens played the Browns, I would favor the Browns just because the Ravens, whether it's injuries or not with Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams, I mean, they can't stop the run. And if you're going to play the Cleveland Browns right now and you have a hard time stopping the run, you're going to lose that game.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you there. But once they get those pieces back, I believe they will be able to stop the run just the way they did.
This is a power ranking right now, Sam.
That's fair.
This is not a power ranking for a month.
Even if they played this week, even if Cleveland played Baltimore this week, I would still pick Baltimore.
Well, that would be stupid because Baltimore doesn't have any running backs left, do they? Aren't they all victims of the?
Okay, all right. Look past the COVID stuff. If they just get the guys back from COVID,
we can't look past stuff where guys aren't playing, Sam.
I suppose so. But you know what? I wrote this. I actually had this written out already before I got the COVID-19.
I really don't want to hear excuses because you say that. But in this article, if you look with Baltimore Ravens, your last line is injury to Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams are causing problems in Baltimore, along with recent COVID-19 cases. So don't tell me you wrote this before that because you wrote it into the freaking article, Sam.
Apparently I did. I guess I got my time wrong. I guess I really did get my time wrong. I'm really screwing that one up. But no, I wouldn't put them ahead of Miami just because – I wouldn't put them below Miami because, look at the quarterback situation they just had against Denver this past weekend.
What was the quarterback situation? Wait a second.
You just benched Tua.
Dude, in Baltimore, they would bench Jackson if they had a decent backup. Lamar Jackson has sucked this year. Tua played 4 games. He sucked in 1. Lamar Jackson has thrown for 200 yards twice this season. I've said it all year. I said it all last year and the year before, and I caught crap for it. Lamar Jackson's not that good of a quarterback. End of discussion. Well, that's period. End of discussion. So don't give me that. Right now.
Tua in 3 quarters. In 3 quarters, Tua threw for 84 yards.
Yeah.
84 yards.
Yeah.
Didn't move the ball whatsoever.
He didn't.
Lamar at least gets over that.
Oh, yeah. Lamar gets 160 yards in 4 quarters. Is there really that big of a difference?
Yeah. What's
the difference? What's the difference?
That's at least one more score there. That's at least 7 points.
Lamar Jackson is in his 3rd year in the NFL, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Tua played 4 games. He won 3 of them. In the other game, he was pulled, and he shouldn't have been. But when I look at this, the Baltimore Ravens were a team that was supposed to be a Super Bowl favorite. Lamar Jackson is supposed to be the NFL MVP, which last year, it was a horseshit call to give Lamar Jackson the MVP. He didn't deserve it. I don't care what his stats were. He didn't deserve it. He was not the best quarterback. So how the hell could he even be the MVP of the league? The Miami Dolphins right now are better than the Baltimore Ravens.
No, they really aren't.
Really, they
really
are.
I don't know if they have a quarterback or not yet. You can say all you want about Tua. Throw him for 84 yards against the Denver Broncos is unacceptable at any level. I don't care if you played 4 games or not.
What did he throw for against the Chargers?
The same team that Joe Flacco threw for like 3 touchdowns against?
Chargers
okay. Team? You want to compare him to that one?
Wait a second. So Joe Flacco was a Super Bowl MVP, so I don't think he was that bad of a quarterback.
Yeah, he was Super Bowl MVP. When was that? How many years ago was that, Mike? Was that 2012, 2013?
I don't know. That's not that long ago because I'm 51 years old. I mean, if you look at this, I don't see where Lamar Jackson's been that great. I mean, what are Lamar's numbers? How many interceptions has he thrown? Where'd all the rushing yards go? Why is his team 6-4? Lamar Jackson got shut down by the Patriots, who Deshaun Watson just destroyed.
Yeah, no, I'm not doubting you that. I've said Deshaun Watson's better than Lamar Jackson this entire year.
Yeah, and so's Tua. Okay, so let's do this. If we look back at your quarterback rankings, last week you actually had Tua ranked ahead of Lamar Jackson.
Lamar, yeah, because he played. That was the game after they played the Chargers. Yeah,
but you just told me that game didn't matter, but it mattered at the time because you ranked him higher than Lamar.
Yeah, I've had Baker Mayfield, what was it last year? I had Baker Mayfield probably in the top 20 at the start of the year. Does that matter?
Yeah, because it just shows that you constantly screw shit up, Sam.
You got a little bit right there. I changed my mind quite a bit.
Yes, you do. You change your mind more than Steve Risley changes his underwear.
I hate to think about that. That's a bad image you're putting in my head there.
Well, but he changes his underwear because he got that Manscaped lawnmower 3.0, and he likes to use it a lot, and, it makes your underwear hairy. All right, number 15, we got the Cleveland Browns, 16 to Carolina Panthers, 17 to Minnesota Vikings, 18 to Houston Texans. The NFL really drops off once you get past 14. Yeah. I think the Cleveland Browns are a team. They're the Cleveland Browns. So if you're a Browns fan, get excited. You're going to beat a few more bad teams, slip into the playoffs, and then a team that can stop the run is going to beat your brains out because Baker Mayfield is terrible. So enjoy it while it lasts, Cleveland Browns fans, because you're going to be done shortly. The Carolina Panthers at 16. P.J. Walker played well last week. He did have 2 poorly timed interceptions, but he performed admirably. Matt Rule has done a great job with this team. This team has lost a lot of close games, but they've also won some close games. And I think, as I said before, Matt Rule's already won more games with this team than I ever thought they would win. And he definitely won more games than I thought he would have won if he'd have been missing Christian McCaffrey for a month of the season.
Yeah, I think it's been over a month of the season at this point. He's only played 4 or 5 games this year. So really, for Carolina, this has got to be an absolute success. It just comes down to, can you transition just into next year into winning 8 to 10 games?
Yeah, then you got Minnesota at 17, which Minnesota defense got old about the same time in the last year or two. The offense is still good enough to win. Defense isn't. Mike Zimmer deserves another year no matter how this ends up. He's a good football coach. Number 17, the Houston Texans. As soon as you get Bill O'Brien out of there, they actually seem respectable now. And I still will say this. If you give me any quarterback in the NFL that's not injured right now under the age of 27 to start a team with, I'm taking Deshaun Watson. I still think he's better than Patrick Mahomes.
Maybe it'd be very interesting to see if he played in an offense that featured a lot of star weapons, but you never get that opportunity because Bill Brown would just all traded them away.
Well, they almost had it. Number 19, the New England Patriots. This is where it gets really bad. 20 to Falcons. Damn, has there been a year where once you get to the 16th ranked team, over half of the NFL has losing records?
Yeah, it's no good so far. I mean, really, we had more teams that became competitive than I think we anticipated at the start of the year, but now we're kind of sliding back into, well, there's really only 5 or 6 teams that actually matter in this whole thing.
Yeah. Let's see. Mike Honcho says the only game this year I'll be rooting for the Steelers. So there's no game where I would ever root for the Steelers because I hate the Steelers. Maybe if they played the Cowboys. No offense to David who listens, who's a Cowboys fan, but I don't know. I probably just wouldn't watch the game if the Steelers played the Raiders or Steelers played the Cowboys. I know in the 3 Super Bowls they played, I actually cheered for the Steelers though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people want you. The only people who cheer for the Cowboys are Cowboys fans. Let's be honest. No one else cheers for the Cowboys.
And really, I don't know that there's any Cowboy fans. It's just people that like to star. They're not America's team because America's team would be who, Sam?
Well, it have to be the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Green Bay Packers. One of those two.
No, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere they play, there's a lot of people like you who have no common sense that cheer for their team no matter what. And there's a lot of overweight, toothless women that need a team to cheer for. So that's how you get it, Pittsburgh being America's team. I mean, really, I think you could say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are Walmart's team.
Walmart's team, is that?
Yeah,
that's how
you go to Walmart, you got the
Walmart all time
350-pound women with the yoga pants on, with the cottage cheese for ass, and they're almost all have Pittsburgh Steelers jerseys on.
Ouch.
Well, it's true. Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm lying.
Aren't you from Indiana? You know what the stereotype of people from Indiana is in New Jersey?
What? Well,
we act like your part of the country just doesn't exist.
Most people in New Jersey don't even know that Indiana's a state, probably.
Well, I just say, we act like your part of the country just doesn't exist half the time.
Well, yeah, you have to because of the inferiority complex it would give once you saw how smart people from the Midwest are. I mean, what'd you get in New Jersey, New York, and everything? Just a bunch of liberal idiots.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm from a farming county.
Oh, you're from a farming county. Whatever the hell that means.
I don't know. I don't like it here anyways.
Well, move. Number 21 to Chargers. Number 22 to Cowboys. 23 to Giants. 24 to the 49ers. I would actually put the Niners at 21 just because they've won 4 games and the injuries killed them. I think the interesting thing is what happens with the Cowboys now with Andy Dalton returning. Can they get to 7-9? 7-9 definitely wins them a playoff spot, but it's the reason I picked the Redskins at the start of this show. The Cowboys have a tendency to screw things up. Mike McCarthy is a bad football coach, so I don't know that anything's going to turn out good there. The interesting one here to me is the Giants because I think defensively they're good. I really like Joe Judge. Daniel Jones has played a little bit better each game over the last month, I think. I think the Giants are a real threat here.
Yeah, so do I. I can't wait to see how Dallas, New York kind of plays out here because New York has a much better defense than what Dallas does right now. They have a very young group. James Bradbury's been a really good addition in the secondary for them. And New York's defense could carry them through. It just really relies on Daniel Jones making enough plays to put them over the top without turning the ball over.
And, this is so bad. I would probably take the Denver Broncos and put them at like number 20.
I mean, they are on a roll. My issue is Drew Lock, obviously. I mean, he's 1 week removed from throwing 4 interceptions in a single game. So to me,
no, he sucks. I'm not debating that. You're the one that thought he'd be good. I told you he was crappy. But the thing about it is their defense is good enough that they can get this done. Their offensive line's not bad either. Their offensive line has improved as much as any I've seen in the NFL over the last year. The problem is Drew Lock's just not very good. 26, the Washington football team, or as David Burnworth calls them, the Washington Redskins. Number 27, the Chicago Bears. The Bears are 5-5. How in the hell are they ranked at 27? I would put them around 20 also.
I have them at 27 because they're offensive. They ranked right above the Jets in most major offensive categories. So they're second worst team offensively in the NFL at this point, only behind the New York Jets.
But
that's why they're third. That's why they're this low.
Wait a second. They have a 500 record. Still an outside shot to make a playoff run. Their defense is really good. They beat Tampa Bay this year, who you have ranked at number 8. I don't see how you could take a team like Dallas or the Chargers or the Falcons or the Patriots or the Giants or the Niners or the Broncos or Washington. I don't know how you could rank them ahead of the Bears.
Well, the Bears have a defense that's towards the bottom of the top 10 defenses in the NFL right now. So not an elite defense, a good defense this year.
You just the bottom of the top 10.
I'm looking at the numbers right now. No. I'm looking at the numbers right now.
But you said the bottom of the top 10. What's so bad of being like the 8th, 9th worst or best defense or worst best?
It's not bad. Football. It's just not elite.
Wait, listen to me. How good's their offense?
Terrible. 31st.
So you don't think that has a reason why instead of being ranked number 3, their defense might be ranked number 8 or 9?
You're saying that the offense plays into making the defense look worse?
Well, yes, because the offense, when you give the other team short fields from turning the ball over, which both quarterbacks will do, and you're 3 and out, you're putting from your own 20 and giving the other team the ball to 35 or to 40 instead of to 20, it makes a damn difference. So Chicago, I think, still has a top 5 defense. They've got a bottom 5 offense, but that top 5 defense, a win over Tampa Bay, who you got ranked number 8, I don't see how you can justify. Let's just go one step above. Tell me what the Washington football team has done that the Chicago Bears haven't done. Washington has won 2 less games. Washington's wins are against Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and what? Dallas. Chicago's got 5 wins, including a win over Tampa Bay.
It's true, but most of those wins, didn't they come at the very start of the year? It wasn't like 4 wins in the first 5 weeks?
Okay, and Washington's wins were against shit teams. Once again, you're on the ropes and you're losing this show badly, and you know it.
No, but you've told me, and you already said earlier in the show, it's a power rankings for right now. We're talking right now. Chicago's been losing.
Right now, if Chicago played Washington and I gave you $1 million and said, bet it on this game, who would you really bet on?
The one that has an offense right now.
So you would bet on Washington to beat Chicago right now?
Yes.
You believe Washington has an offense right now?
Better than Chicago's.
They scored 20 points on the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
and the Bears probably would have scored 7.
And they still would have won because Joe Burrow wasn't there. So I just think you're smoking crack there. Number 28, the Detroit Lions. 29 to Philadelphia Eagles. 30 to Cincinnati Bengals, which is an absolute joke. How can you have the Bengals at number 30?
They are actually more talented than Jacksonville right now. Jacksonville is starting Mike Glennon this week, Mike.
Mike Glennon is freaking Roger Staubach compared to Ryan Finley.
Hey, you're starting Brendan Allen.
Hey, okay. So that'll tell you a lot about the Bengals. The backup quarterback played a quarter and a half, so they immediately bench him for the practice squad quarterback. My question would be, why was that guy the practice squad quarterback and the other guy to back up? I tell you this, Adam Gase is Vince Lombardi compared to Zach Taylor. The Cincinnati Bengals are a mess. They're going to end up 2-13-1, and I don't care if the Jets end up 0-16. If the Jets played the Bengals, the Jets would beat the Bengals right now because nothing is happening in Cincinnati except a bunch of bitching, infighting, and incompetency.
Yeah, you have to feel bad because you do have some young pieces there who are really good. I mean, you got Tyler Boyd, who's always been a solid receiver. T. Higgins is having a decent year. You feel bad for the players who are kind of caught in the middle of all this.
How about this, though? When you talk about the young, really good players on the Bengals team, you know what is not missing here? Or you know what's missing when you do that?
What?
What's missing is you never bring up a defensive player or an offensive lineman. That's the issue. You can have all the great skill position players you want. If you don't have linemen up front, you don't have anything. It's a skill position.
I think the one defensive player who says really good
Jesse
on Cincinnati is Jesse Bates.
And Logan Wilson. I really like Logan Wilson. I think he's going to be one of the best linebackers in football.
Yeah, he's really getting coverage, right? I heard he's one of the best coverage linebackers so far this year.
And he will come up and smack somebody. All right. We have a question from Mike Honcho, which, Mike, that's a cool-ass name. And he says, how many games do the Niners win this year? Right now, the Niners are at 4 wins. Let's go through this. They play the Rams. They're going to lose. They play the Bills. They're going to lose. They play Washington. They're going to lose. They play the Cowboys. They're probably going to lose.
I have a shot there.
They play the Cardinals. They're going to lose. I think the amount of wins they have right now is what they end the season with.
Yeah, I would go with you there. I mean, you mentioned there's a bunch of good teams here. They have a shot potentially against Washington or Dallas. If either of those teams just
the NFL, they got a shot in any of the games. The problem is this. The Niners would be a Super Bowl team or a Super Bowl contender if everybody was healthy. They're not. They're not even close to it. You lose guys like Bosa, Garoppolo, Mostert, you're in trouble. So the question is this. If they were to get all these guys back right now, when I look at the schedule, they could win every one of those games. But they're not going to get them back. If they don't get any of them back, they lose them all. The question is, when you get to the Washington game and the Cowboys game, how many guys are back?
I don't know.
My thing is this. High watermark is 7 wins. Low mark, or they're going to be between 4 and 7 wins. And getting to 7 is dependent on how many guys they can get back to make this team competitive again.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Sherman's back. I think Raheem Mostert's still potentially going to come back. It sounds to me like George Kittle and Jim Garoppolo are probably done for the year, though. And in which case, I think 6 wins would probably be the high water mark. I'd say they'd probably finish here with 5. They might get one more here.
All right. Any other NFL news we want to discuss, Sam?
I think Adam Schefter said earlier today he expects some people to be fired in Philadelphia if they do not win this division.
By people, does he mean the head coach?
I would assume that's what he's alluding to. I think coach or coaching staff, probably not the GM. I think it'd be more on Doug Peterson and his staff.
How could you fire Doug Peterson? Playoffs almost every year. He won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia.
Yeah, but it sounds like everything's kind of falling apart here, and I really pinning it on him, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know. And the Jaguars are starting Mike Glennon. That wasn't a joke, even though it sounded like a punchline when you said it.
Yeah. They're starting Mike Glennon. You're starting Brandon Allen.
I would rather start Brandon Allen.
Yeah.
Which is really sad. But, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Me and Sam will be back tonight with a special live college football show at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Make sure you check us out then. You can follow Sam Teets at SamTeets33. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. And make sure you check out the Pennsylvania Football News on Twitter. It's PA Football News. That's where you can find David Burnworth, who's actually going to start writing some high school football articles for us, Sam. Make sure you check out manscaped.com. It's Christmas time. And if you're out there and you are hairy or your loved one is hairy, well, you need the Lawnmower 3.0. Sam Teets has not shaved his balls yet, but he's planning on doing it next Sunday night for us, and he's going to report back Monday. Correct, Sam?
Yeah, if you beat me in the games for this weekend, I will do it.
Dude, how many times have you beaten me?
Once.
Okay. How many weeks of the season have there been?
11 at this point, right. I think.
This will be 12 coming up, so get your balls ready because you're going to have to shave them. All right, Friday, me and Sam will be back to pick all of Sunday's games. If anybody wants to come out and come on and challenge us, nobody's beaten us yet that sat in, have they?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so maybe you could be the first one to do that. And if you do it, Sam will send you his ball hair in an envelope.
I wouldn't go that far, but
you're doing it to somebody either way, though. You know you are. But, all right, remember you can check us out also on Rockfin, which Rockfin has a lot of different platforms. There is no monetization issues there like there is at YouTube. YouTube denied us yesterday, Sam, to be remonetized because they said that we were using content that had been previously used. All the content is ours. And the bad thing is, I could show you the email they sent me where now on YouTube, if you're not monetized and you're not making money, they can still put ads on your stuff and they get to keep all the money.
Isn't that convenient for them?
It is convenient for them. We need to start something like that. But for now, we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap it up. Make sure you check out manscaped.com, promo code TGT20 for 20% off your first purchase and free shipping. So for now, for Sam Teets, I'm my good pastor. You've been listening and watching to The Grueling Truth, where the